The screams cut through Boston Common like broken glass on a perfect October afternoon. Amara Bennett's hands were full, grocery bags in one arm, her 8-year-old son Malik's backpack in the other, when the sound made her freeze mid-step. Her nursing instincts, honed through 12 years of emergency room chaos, immediately catalogued the sound. Child in distress, real terror, not playground drama. She shouldn't have looked. Should have kept walking toward the parking lot where her aging Honda waited. Should have minded her own business like every survival instinct in her body screamed. Boston wasn't the kind of city where you inserted yourself into other people's problems, not when you were a single black mother with your own child to protect and bills that never stopped coming. But Amara's feet were already moving before her brain caught up. Through the crowd of afternoon parkgoers she saw them. 2 men in dark suits flanking a small Korean girl who couldn't have been more than 6 years old. The child wore an expensive pink dress with white tights and patent leather shoes that probably cost more than Amara's weekly grocery budget. Her silky black hair was held back with ribbons, and her round face was frozen in terror as one of the men reached for her arm. "Sua, your daddy sent us," the man said in accented English, his smile not reaching his cold eyes. "Time to go home now." "No." The little girl's voice cracked with fear. "You're not Appa's men. You're the bad ones. Appa said to never go with strangers." The second man moved behind her, cutting off escape. His hand went inside his jacket, a movement Amara recognized from too many gunshot victims in her ER. Time slowed down. Amara saw Malik at the water fountain 20 feet away, oblivious to the danger unfolding. Saw other parents starting to notice but hesitating, nobody wanting to get involved. Saw the little girl's eyes darting desperately for help that wasn't coming. And Amara made a choice that would shatter her carefully built life into 1,000 pieces. She dropped the grocery bags and ran. "Hey." Her voice carried authority born from years of controlling chaotic emergency rooms. She said no. "Back away from her. Now." Both men turned, surprise flickering across their faces. The first one, shorter, stocky with a scar cutting through his left eyebrow, sized her up with dismissive eyes. "This is family business. Walk away." "She's scared. That makes it my business." Amara positioned herself between the men and the child, her heart hammering so hard she could feel it in her throat. "Sua, honey, do you know these men?" "No. They're bad. Appa has pictures of them, they tried to hurt him." The little girl's English was accented but clear, her small body trembling. The scarred man's face hardened. "Last chance, lady. Walk away." His hand moved fully inside his jacket now, and Amara saw the outline of what could only be a gun. Every rational thought in her head screamed at her to run. She had Malik to think about. She had bills to pay, a life to live, a son who needed his mother. This wasn't her problem. This wasn't her fight. But she looked down at the little girl's terrified face and saw every child she'd ever treated in the ER. The ones who came in with bruises they were too scared to explain, with broken bones and broken trust. She thought about what she'd want someone to do if it were Malik standing there, alone and terrified. "Malik!" Amara shouted without taking her eyes off the men. "Baby, run to that cafe. Call 911. Right now." "Mom." Malik's voice came from behind her, confused and frightened. "Now, Malik. Run." She heard his footsteps pounding away, heard people starting to react to her shouting. The scarred man swore in Russian, a language Amara recognized from one of her multilingual co-workers, and pulled the gun. Amara didn't think. She grabbed the little girl, shielding her with her own body, and ran. The first gunshot cracked through the afternoon air. People screamed. Parents grabbed children. The peaceful park erupted into chaos. Amara felt something hot slice across her left shoulder but didn't stop. She clutched the little girl against her chest, feeling the child's small heart hammering like a trapped bird. Her nursing scrubs, she'd stopped at the park still wearing them after her shift, were suddenly an advantage, the sturdy fabric offering some protection as she crashed through hedges. "I've got you," she gasped to the sobbing child. "I've got you, baby. Hold on tight." Another shot. This one hit a tree trunk inches from her head, bark exploding. The cafe was ahead. Bright red awning, glass windows, people inside scrambling away from the windows. Malik stood at the entrance, phone clutched in his hand, his face pale with terror. Inside. Amara shoved through the door, nearly tripping. "Everyone get back. There are men with guns." The cafe erupted into controlled panic. A manager was already calling 911. Customers ducked behind counters. Someone, a young man in a barista apron, grabbed Malik and pulled him toward the storage room. In here, the barista said, gesturing to the back. Storage room has a reinforced door and no windows. Amara ran, her shoulders screaming in pain, the little girl still clutched against her chest. They burst into the storage room, coffee beans and cleaning supplies and blessed safety. The barista slammed the door shut and threw the bolt. Only then did Amara let herself slide down the wall, still holding the child, her entire body shaking with adrenaline crash. Mom. Malik was there, his small hands on her face. Mom, you're bleeding. Your shoulder. It's okay, baby. It's just a graze. Amara forced her voice to stay calm even as she felt warm blood soaking through her scrub top. I'm okay. You're not okay. You got shot. Malik's voice cracked, tears streaming down his face. Why did you do that? Why did you run toward the bad men? Because, Amara looked down at the little girl in her arms, at her tear-streaked face and terrified eyes. Because she needed help. The child had her small fists clutched in Amara's scrub top, her whole body trembling. She looked up at Amara with eyes that held too much fear for someone so young. You saved me, she whispered in heavily accented English. You're brave like Appa says warriors are brave. What's your name, sweetheart? Amara asked gently, even as she did a quick visual assessment. No visible injuries. Shock definitely, but physically unharmed. Kong Sua. I'm 6 years old. Those bad men wanted to take me to hurt my Appa. Your Appa, your father, where is he? Working. He's always working because he has to keep us safe. But the bad men found me anyway. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. Uncle Junho was getting my favorite ice cream. I was just on the swings. And they came. Amara's nursing assessment shifted into gear despite the pain and fear. Did they hurt you? Touch you anywhere? No. You came before they could. Sua's arms tightened around Amara's neck. Don't let them get me. Please don't let them get me. I won't, baby. I promise. Malik had pressed himself against Amara's other side, his small body still shaking. Mom, I called 911 like you said. They said police are coming. Are those men going to come in here? Before Amara could answer, the sound of multiple vehicles screeching to a halt outside made them all freeze. Not police sirens. These were different. More engines. More doors slamming. Through the storage room's single high window, Amara glimpsed black SUVs pulling up in formation. Men in dark suits poured out, at least a dozen of them moving with military precision. They spread out across the park, weapons drawn but held low, searching. And then he appeared. The man who stepped out of the lead vehicle moved like contained violence in an Armani suit. Tall, at least 6'2", with sharp, aristocratic features that suggested Korean heritage. His black hair was styled perfectly despite obvious stress, swept back from a face that could have been carved from stone. But it was his eyes that caught Amara even from this distance. Dark, intense, and currently filled with the kind of raw panic that transformed his controlled features into something heartbreakingly human. Sua. His voice carried across the chaos, deep and rough with barely controlled emotion. Sua. The little girl in Amara's arms started struggling. Appa. That's my Appa. Wait, baby, wait. Amara tried to hold her, but Sua was scrambling for the door, desperate and crying. Appa. Appa, I'm here. The barista unlocked the door and Sua burst out of the storage room, running through the cafe toward the entrance. Amara struggled to her feet, Malik clutching her hand, both of them following more slowly. Outside, the scene had transformed. The two men who'd tried to take Sua were on the ground, surrounded by the suited men, guns pointed at their heads. Police cars were pulling up now, sirens wailing, but the suited men ignored them, focused entirely on their targets. And in the middle of it all, the man in the Armani suit dropped to his knees as his daughter ran to him. Amara watched through the cafe's shattered front window as he caught Sua, crushing her against his chest. His eyes squeezed shut. His whole body shook. One hand cupped the back of her head like she was infinitely precious. The other arm wrapped around her small body like he could shield her from the entire world. He was speaking rapid Korean, his voice breaking on words Amara couldn't understand but that needed no translation. Relief. Love. bone-deep terror transforming into desperate gratitude. Then his eyes opened and found Amara. The world seemed to narrow down to that single moment, their eyes meeting across blood and chaos and shattered glass. His dark eyes widened slightly as they catalogued her, the blood soaking through her scrub top, Malik pressed against her side, her protective stance despite obvious pain. Understanding flashed across his face. This was the woman who'd saved his daughter. He said something in Korean to the man beside him, shorter, stockier, with a scar cutting through his eyebrow that Amara recognized with cold clarity as identical to the man who'd tried to take Suah, then gently set his daughter down. He spoke to her softly, stroking her hair, before standing and walking toward the cafe with purpose. The way he moved was predatory grace. Every step calculated. Every movement suggesting controlled violence held barely in check. The crowd parted instinctively before him. Up close he was even more devastating. Sharp jawline, full lips currently pressed into a grim line, and those eyes, God, those eyes that looked at her with an intensity that made Amara's breath catch despite the pain and fear and adrenaline. You saved her. His voice was deep, accented, carefully measured. Not a question. A statement of absolute fact. Anyone would have. No. He cut her off gently but firmly. They wouldn't have. Most people freeze. You ran toward danger. You put yourself between armed men and my daughter. His eyes tracked to her shoulder, to the blood, and something dangerous flashed across his face. You were shot. It's just a graze. You were shot protecting my child. He looked down at Malik, who was trying to be brave but whose hand trembled in Amara's. Is this your son? Yes. Malik. The man crouched down to Malik's level, his face softening. You were very brave, Malik. Your mother is a hero and you helped her by calling for help. That makes you a hero too. Malik's chin wobbled. She could have died. Those men had guns. But she didn't die. She saved my daughter, and now I'm going to make sure nothing bad happens to either of you. Ever. The promise in his voice was absolute. He stood, his attention returning to Amara. I'm Kang Min-jae. And I owe you a debt I can never fully repay. You don't owe me anything. I just did what anyone. Would you stop saying that? For the first time, emotion cracked through his controlled facade. You risked your life for a stranger's child. You were shot. Your son watched you run toward gunfire. Nothing about what you did was ordinary. Police were approaching now, asking questions, trying to establish control. Paramedics were pushing through the crowd. But Min-jae held up a hand and somehow, impossibly, everyone paused, waiting for his permission. The display of authority should have frightened Amara. Should have sent every warning bell in her head screaming. But she was too tired, too hurt, and too focused on the way this dangerous man's hands had shaken when he'd held his daughter. Miss? He waited for her name. Bennett. Amara Bennett. Amara. The way he said her name with that slight accent made something low in her belly flutter inappropriately. The paramedics need to look at your shoulder. Please let them help you. I'm a nurse. I can assess my own. Please. The single word held weight. Let someone take care of you for once. How did he know she was used to being the one doing the caring? How could he see that with just one look? As if summoned by his words, paramedics arrived with their equipment. One of them, a woman Amara recognized from Massachusetts General, took one look at her shoulder and whistled. Amara? Girl, what happened? Long story, Janelle. Just clean it and bandage it. I'm fine. You're not fine, you've been shot. We need to transport you. I have my son. I can't leave him. He can come with you, Min-jae said quietly. My car will follow. I need to speak with you after you're treated. Please. Amara wanted to refuse. Wanted to grab Malik and run as far from this dangerous, complicated situation as possible. But when she looked over at Suah, still crying, still shaken, being held by one of the suited men while watching Amara with desperate eyes, she couldn't bring herself to walk away. Okay, she heard herself say. But just to the ER. Then we go home. Of course. But something in Min-jae's eyes suggested he had no intention of letting her simply walk away. And as the paramedics loaded her into the ambulance, as Malik climbed in beside her clutching her hand, as she watched Min-jae Kong speak quietly to his men with an authority that suggested he was far more than just a worried father, Amara knew with absolute certainty that her quiet life had just been shattered beyond recognition. She'd saved a child. And in doing so she'd drawn the attention of the most dangerous man in Boston. 4 hours earlier. Amara's alarm went off at 5:47 a.m., the same time it had gone off every weekday for the past 3 years. She slapped it silent before it could wake Malik, then lay in the darkness of her bedroom for exactly 30 seconds. Her daily moment of weakness where she allowed herself to feel the bone-deep exhaustion that came with being a single mother working 12-hour shifts in one of Boston's busiest emergency rooms. 30 seconds. Then she was up. The apartment in Roxbury wasn't much. One bedroom that Malik claimed, a pull-out couch in the living room where Amara slept, a kitchen barely big enough for one person, and a bathroom with water pressure that ranged from aggressive dribble to fire hose with mood swings. But it was clean, it was safe, and most importantly it was theirs. No landlord could kick them out as long as she made rent. No man could walk away and take it with him. Amara dressed in the dark. Black scrubs that hid stains, comfortable shoes that were 2 years old but still had support, her natural hair twisted into bantu knots she'd redo this weekend if she had time. The mirror in the bathroom showed a woman who looked older than her 32 years. Dark circles under brown eyes, stress lines around her mouth, shoulders that carried too much weight. But she was still standing. Still fighting. That counted for something. She made Malik's lunch with practiced efficiency. Peanut butter and jelly because protein powder was expensive, an apple because fruit was important, a juice box because he was 8 and deserved something sweet, a granola bar she'd found on sale. She wrote a note on his napkin in purple marker. You're braver than you believe, smarter than you seem, and loved more than you know. A variation on the Winnie the Pooh quote she left him every day. Mom. Malik's sleepy voice came from the bedroom doorway. You're leaving already? Morning shift, baby. Grandma Letty will be here by 7 to get you to school. Amara crossed to him, kissing his forehead. How'd you sleep? I had that dream again. The one where Dad comes back. Amara's heart clenched. Oh, honey. It's stupid. Malik rubbed his eyes, trying to be brave. I know he's not coming back. I know he doesn't want to be my dad anymore. Sometimes I still hope. This was the part that killed her. The part where her brilliant, beautiful son made excuses for a man who'd walked away from him without looking back. Marcus had decided fatherhood was too hard, and a 22-year-old with no baggage was more appealing than the family he'd created. He sent a card on Malik's birthday. Sometimes. That was it. It's not stupid to hope, Amara said, pulling him into a hug. But baby, you know who's never going anywhere? Me. I'm your person and you're mine, and that's forever. Okay. Okay. His small arms squeezed tight around her waist. You're enough, Mom. Even when you're tired and stressed. You're always enough. At 8 years old, her son was already more emotionally mature than his father had ever been. Love you, Malik. Love you more. Impossible. It was their ritual. The same exchange every morning. The anchor that kept them both grounded. The Boston subway system was crowded with morning commuters. Amara found a seat between a businessman on his phone and a college student with headphones, and allowed herself to zone out for the 30-minute ride. These were her stolen moments of peace, when nobody needed anything from her and she could just breathe. Her phone buzzed. Text from Kendra, her best friend since nursing school. Coffee after shift? I need to vent about Marcus being a useless co-parent again. Amara smiled and typed back. You're talking about my ex-husband or yours? Both. All men are trash. Maybe. Depends on how bloody the shift is. It's Tuesday. Always bloody on Tuesdays. Kendra wasn't wrong. In 12 years of emergency nursing, Amara had learned that certain days of the week brought certain kinds of chaos. Tuesdays were, I've been ignoring this injury since the weekend and now it's an emergency day. Massachusetts General Hospital's ER was already buzzing when Amara arrived at 6:45 a.m. She changed into her clean scrubs in the locker room, twisted her hair up more securely, and joined the morning huddle where the night shift gave report. Trauma Bay 1 has a GSW to the abdomen, surgery's been called, families in the waiting room losing their minds, the night charge nurse rattled off. Bay 2 is a cardiac arrest, we've got him back but he's circling. Bay 3 is a tox screen waiting to happen, 19-year-old found unresponsive at a frat party. Rooms 4 through 12 are your standard Tuesday chaos. chest pain that's probably heartburn, abdominal pain that's probably constipation, and 3 people who can't understand why we're prioritizing the actively dying over their stubbed toe. Another beautiful day in paradise, Amara muttered, earning tired laughs from her colleagues. She was assigned to bays 4 through 8, the maybe dying but probably not section. It meant constant movement, constant assessment, constant juggling of priorities. A 70-year-old with chest pain, real cardiac event, got bumped ahead of the 25-year-old with chest pain, panic attack. A child with a fever and rash, possible meningitis, got immediate attention over the adult with the same symptoms who'd been sick for 3 days before deciding it was worth a hospital visit. This was Amara's gift, triage. The ability to look at chaos and see order, to identify the real emergencies hidden among the urgent, that was actually just inconvenient. She was good at her job. Really good. It was the one part of her life where she felt truly competent. Amara. Dr. Chen, one of the ER attendings, caught her between patients. I'm putting you with the med student today. Show her how it's done. The med student in question was young, maybe 24, with perfect makeup and designer scrubs that screamed, "I've never been vomited on." She introduced herself as Madison and proceeded to ask approximately 700 questions while Amara tried to keep 4 patients from decompensating. How do you know when someone's really having a heart attack versus just anxious? Madison asked while Amara started in 4 on an elderly woman. Experience, pattern recognition, and a healthy respect for the fact that anxiety can mimic cardiac symptoms, so you treat it seriously either way. Amara secured the 4 with practiced efficiency. Mrs. Washington, this is going to feel cold when the fluids start, okay? You're so gentle, the elderly woman said. Not like that last nurse who stabbed me 5 times trying to find a vein. I promise I won't stab you 5 times, Amara said with a smile. To Madison, see how her veins are collapsed? Dehydration. You have to feel more than look. Here, try it. This was the other thing Amara was good at. Teaching. She'd been precepting new nurses and students for 5 years now, and she loved seeing that moment when they got it. When the chaos suddenly made sense and they realized they could do this. Madison fumbled the 4 3 times before getting it, but she got it. Progress. Lunch was a protein bar eaten standing up in the break room while Amara returned texts from Malik's school. He'd forgotten his permission slip for the field trip. Could she email it? Her landlord, rent was due tomorrow, she knew she hadn't forgotten, and her mother in Jamaica. Yes, she was eating enough. No, she didn't have time to date. Yes, she was still single by choice. The afternoon shift brought a domestic violence case that made Amara want to scream. Young woman, 23, with a black eye she claimed came from walking into a door. Boyfriend in the waiting room, controlling and possessive, watching through the window. The woman refused to press charges, refused social services, refused everything except treatment for her injuries. I can't make you leave him, Amara said quietly, holding the woman's hand. But I can give you resources. Phone numbers. Safe houses. And I can tell you that I've seen too many women come through these doors who waited too long, and some of them don't leave alive. You deserve better than this. The woman took the card with the hotline number. Amara would probably never know if she used it. That was the hard part of emergency nursing. You got people in their worst moments, you did your best to help, and then they disappeared back into their lives and you never knew if you'd made a difference. By 6 p.m. Amara was exhausted. Her feet ached. Her back hurt. She smelled like antiseptic and other people's bodily fluids. But she'd helped 23 patients today. 23 people who'd needed her. She changed back into street clothes. Jeans and a t-shirt under her scrub top because she was too tired to fully change, and headed for the tea station. The grocery store was on the way home. She needed to pick up ingredients for the week's meals, which she'd prep on her day off if she had the energy. The tea was even more crowded during evening rush hour. Amara stood, squeezed between commuters, and mentally calculated her budget. $1,200 for rent, due tomorrow, $150 for utilities, $400 for groceries, $200 for Malik's after-school program, $100 for his field trips and activities, $300 for her student loans, $150 for car insurance even though her car barely ran. That left approximately $83 for emergencies, entertainment, savings, and anything else life decided to throw at her. She made $58,000 a year. In Boston, that might as well be poverty wages. But they were surviving. Malik had everything he needed. They had a roof over their heads. She was building a life slowly but surely. At the grocery store, Amara shopped with military efficiency. Chicken thighs, cheaper than breasts. Rice in bulk, frozen vegetables, same nutrition as fresh, fraction of the cost. Pasta, eggs, peanut butter, bread, bananas. Nothing fancy. Nothing wasted. The cashier rang up her total, $127.43. Amara paid with her debit card and prayed nothing unexpected would hit before her next paycheck. She was loading groceries into her reusable bags when her phone rang. Grandma Letty, the elderly neighbor who watched Malik after school in exchange for Amara's help with her medications and doctor's appointments. Letty? Everything okay? Oh honey, everything's fine. Malik's here playing video games. I just wanted to let you know he had a rough day at school. Marcus called him. Amara's blood went cold. What? His father called the school office, asked to talk to him. Malik came back from the call all quiet. Won't tell me what they talked about, but he's been sad since. I'm on my way. 20 minutes. Amara hung up, rage and protective fury warring in her chest. Marcus had no right. He'd given up that right when he'd walked away. When he'd decided his son was too much work. And now he could just call whenever he felt like it and turn Malik's world upside down? The groceries suddenly felt impossibly heavy. Her feet ached. Her shoulder, the one she'd strained lifting a patient, throbbed. She was so tired she could cry. But Malik needed her. So she walked to the T-station, rode the 30 minutes home, climbed the stairs to their third-floor walk-up, and plastered on a smile before opening Grandma Letty's door. Mom. Malik ran to her, and Amara saw immediately that he'd been crying. Hey baby. She set down the groceries and pulled him close. Rough day. Dad called. He said he wants to see me. That he misses me. Every muscle in Amara's body tensed. What else did he say? That he made a mistake. That he wants to be part of my life again. Malik's voice was small, hopeful, breaking. Do you think he means it this time? This time. Because Marcus had promised before. Had shown up for exactly 2 visits before disappearing again, leaving Malik more broken than before. I don't know, honey. But I think we need to be careful with our hearts, okay? Your dad, he loves you in his own way. But his way isn't always reliable. I know. But Malik's eyes still held that terrible hope. Amara thanked Grandma Letty, gathered their things and walked Malik to their apartment. She put away groceries while he did homework at their tiny kitchen table, and tried to figure out what she was going to do if Marcus actually followed through this time. Mom. Malik looked up from his math worksheet. Can we go to the park tomorrow after school? Before it gets too dark. Sure baby. Boston Common. Yeah. I like the swings there. Then that's what we'll do. It was a simple promise. A small thing. But it would be the promise that changed everything. Because tomorrow at the park, Amara would make a choice that would shatter her careful, controlled life. Tomorrow she would step between a terrified child and armed men. Tomorrow she would catch the attention of Boston's most dangerous crime boss. Tomorrow everything would change. But tonight she was just a tired single mother helping her son with math homework, eating cheap pasta for dinner and trying to make ends meet. Tonight she was still in control of her life. She just didn't know she only had one more night of normal left. The same morning, 6 a.m. Min Jae Kong woke at exactly 5:45 a.m., the same time he'd woken every day for the past 15 years. No alarm. His body simply knew when it was time to begin the carefully orchestrated chaos that was his life. He lay in the darkness of his bedroom for 30 seconds. His only moment of weakness where he allowed himself to remember what it felt like to wake up next to someone. To feel Haewon's warmth beside him, her soft breathing, the way she'd curl into him even in sleep. 5 years gone and he could still smell her perfume if he concentrated hard enough. 30 seconds. Then he was up. The penthouse overlooked Boston Harbor, floor-to-ceiling windows offering a view that had cost him $8 million. Minimalist decor in grays and blacks. Everything expensive and cold and perfectly controlled. The only warmth came from the second floor. Sua's room, painted pink at her insistence, filled with stuffed animals and picture books and the innocent chaos of childhood. Min Jae showered in water hot enough to hurt, dressed in a Tom Ford suit that cost more than most people's monthly rent, and made his way to the kitchen where his housekeeper, Mrs. Song, was already preparing breakfast. Good morning, Sajangnam. she greeted in Korean, using the respectful term for a company president. Sua is still sleeping. She had nightmares again last night. Min-jae's jaw tightened. The same ones. Yes. About her mother. She was calling for her. Mrs. Song's expression was sympathetic. She came to your room but you weren't there. Because he'd been in his office until 3 a.m. handling a situation with the Bratva that threatened to explode into open war. Because keeping his daughter safe meant sometimes not being there when she needed him. The guilt was a familiar weight. I'll check on her before I leave. He ate breakfast alone, rice, miso soup, grilled fish, while reviewing reports on his tablet. The legitimate businesses were thriving. 3 restaurants, 2 import companies, a shipping firm. The illegitimate businesses were more complicated. Territory disputes with Viktor Sokolov's Bratva organization, internal concerns about loyalty among his lower-level soldiers, and constant pressure from the Italian families who wanted a piece of Boston's lucrative underground. Min-jae had inherited this empire from his father at 25, when a rival's bullet had ended the elder Kang's reign. That was 10 years ago. 10 years of consolidating power, eliminating threats, and building something that could sustain his family for generations. But lately he'd been thinking about getting out. About transitioning everything to legitimate operations. About giving Sua a life where she didn't have to grow up surrounded by armed guards and constant danger. The problem was that getting out of this life was infinitely harder than getting in. You didn't retire from being a crime boss. You either died or you were forced out, usually violently. Appa. Sua's sleepy voice came from the doorway. Min-jae's entire demeanor shifted, the cold businessman replaced by a gentle father. Good morning, princess. Why are you awake so early? Couldn't sleep. She padded over in her pink pajamas, her silky black hair messy from sleep. At 6 years old she looked exactly like Haewon. The same delicate features, the same expressive eyes. Can I have breakfast with you? Of course. He pulled her onto his lap, breathing in her strawberry-scented shampoo. What do you want? Mrs. Song can make anything. Pancakes? With chocolate chips. Pancakes with chocolate chips it is. He kissed her forehead. How did you sleep? They had the sad dream again. About Alma. Sua's small fingers played with his tie. I can't remember what she looked like anymore. I try but her face gets fuzzy. Min-jae's chest tightened. That's why we have pictures, remember? And videos. You can watch them anytime you want. It's not the same. I want to remember her myself. Without help. She was 6 years old and already carrying the weight of loss that most adults couldn't handle. Min-jae hated it. Hated that his daughter would grow up without her mother. Hated that he couldn't fix this, couldn't make it better, couldn't do anything except hold her and tell her it would be okay even when he wasn't sure himself. Your Alma loved you more than anything in this world, he said softly in Korean, then switched to English, the language Sua preferred now that she was in an American school. She held you once, looked at your face and told me you were perfect. That was the last thing she ever said. And then she died. And then she died. He wouldn't lie to her. Couldn't. But she gave me the most precious gift first. She gave me you. Sua was quiet for a moment. Then, Uncle Junho says I'm your weakness. That bad men want to hurt you by hurting me. Is that true? Min-jae went very still. When did Uncle Junho say that? I heard him talking to you last week. When you thought I was asleep. Her eyes, so much like her mother's, looked up at him with too much understanding. Am I making you weak, Appa? No. The word came out fierce. You make me strong. You're the reason I do everything I do. Uncle Junho is wrong. You're not my weakness, you're my purpose. But bad men still want to hurt me. And I will never ever let them. Do you understand? I have the best security, the best people, the best everything to keep you safe. Nothing will happen to you. It was a promise he'd made 1,000 times. A promise he would kill to keep. Mrs. Song brought chocolate chip pancakes and the conversation shifted to lighter things. Sua's upcoming school field trip, the new playground equipment at the park, her best friend Lily's birthday party. Normal 6-year-old concerns. But Min-jae couldn't shake the unease that had been building for weeks. Viktor Sokolov was getting bolder. The last shipment had been intercepted. 3 of his men had been jumped in Bratva territory. The Russians were pushing, testing boundaries, looking for weaknesses. And his daughter was the ultimate weakness, no matter what he told her. His phone buzzed. Text from Junho, his head of security and oldest friend. We have a situation. The Bratva knows Sua's schedule. They've been watching the park. Min-jae's blood went cold. He typed back, how long? At least a week. We just caught it on traffic cameras. They know she goes to Boston Common every Tuesday after school. Double security. Change the schedule. And find out who leaked it. Already on it. But boss. We might have a mole. The unease crystallized into cold fury. Someone in his organization was feeding information to Victor. Someone he trusted had betrayed him. Appa, you look angry. Sua's small hand touched his face. Are you okay? Min-jae forced his expression to soften. I'm fine, princess. Just work problems. Nothing for you to worry about. But he was lying. Because if Victor knew Sua's schedule, if there was a mole in his organization, then his daughter was in more danger than ever. He needed to handle this. Today. Before something happened that he couldn't take back. After breakfast, Min-jae drove Sua to her exclusive private school in Brookline. 15 minutes from the penthouse, maximum security, tuition that cost more than a luxury car. He walked her inside personally, something he tried to do at least twice a week despite his schedule. Appa, I'm not a baby, Sua protested as he held her hand down the hallway. The other kids will think I need my daddy to walk me to class. Let them think what they want. I like walking you to class. That's because you're overprotective. That's because you're precious to me. He crouched down at her classroom door. I love you, Sua. More than anything in this world. I love you too. She hugged him tight. Will you pick me up today? Uncle Junho will get you. I have meetings. But I'll be home for dinner, okay? Promise. Promise. He watched her run into the classroom, her pink backpack bouncing, already chattering with her friends. Normal. Innocent. Everything he wasn't. Junho was waiting by the car, shorter than Min-jae, stockier, with a scar cutting through his left eyebrow from a fight years ago. They'd grown up together in Seoul, had come to America together, had built this empire together. If there was anyone Min-jae trusted completely, it was Junho. Tell me, Min-jae said as they drove toward his office in downtown Boston. The leak came from inside. Someone close. They knew Sua's Tuesday park schedule, her school drop-off times, even where Mrs. Song shops for groceries. Who? Still narrowing it down. But it's someone in the inner circle. Has to be. Min-jae's hands clenched. When you find them, bring them to me. Alive. And then I'll make sure everyone understands what happens when you threaten my family. The office was in a gleaming high-rise, legitimate and legal. Import, export company, shipping firm, restaurant management, all the paperwork clean, all the taxes paid. This was the face Min-jae showed the world. Successful Korean-American businessman, respected in the community, generous donor to charities. The reality was darker. The import-export company moved more than just legal goods. The shipping firm handled contraband. The restaurants laundered money. And beneath it all, Min-jae controlled territories, ran operations, and commanded loyalty through a careful balance of respect and fear. His father had ruled through brutality. Min-jae had learned to rule through strategy. He was cold when he needed to be, ruthless when required, but he didn't waste violence. Every action had a purpose. Every decision was calculated. Except when it came to Sua. She was his one weakness, his one blind spot. And Victor knew it. The morning was filled with meetings, legitimate business deals, contract negotiations, expansion plans. Min-jae played the role perfectly. Charming, intelligent, just foreign enough to be interesting but American enough to be trustworthy. Lunch was with a city councilman who wanted campaign contributions. Min-jae listened to his pitch, agreed to a generous donation, and added another politician to his network of influence. This was how power really worked. Not through violence but through relationships and leverage. By 2 p.m. he was back at his private office, reviewing the security reports Junho had compiled. The mole was definitely someone senior. The information was too detailed, too accurate. His phone rang. Unknown number. Min-jae answered in Korean, yes. Kung Min-jae. The voice was heavily accented Russian. Victor Sokolov. We need to talk. Every muscle in Min-jae's body tensed. We have nothing to discuss. I think we do. About territory. About respect. About the fact that you've been pushing into my business for 2 years. Your business was failing. I simply filled a vacuum. My business is my business. Victor's voice hardened. I'm calling to offer you a deal. You pull back from the docks, from the South End operations. You give me what's mine. And in return, I let you keep what's yours. And if I refuse? Then I take what's mine anyway. But I take something of yours too. Something precious. The threat was clear. Unmistakable. Min-jae's voice dropped to something lethal. If you touch my daughter, I will burn your entire organization to the ground. I will kill everyone you've ever loved. I will make you watch as I destroy everything you've built, and then I will kill you slowly. Do you understand me? Big words. But words don't scare me, Kong. Results do. And you've been too comfortable for too long. Too soft with that little girl. Too distracted. Victor laughed. We'll see how long your strength lasts when your weakness is exposed. The line went dead. Min-jae sat in silence for exactly 10 seconds. Then he made 3 calls. First, to Junho. Maximum security on Suah. Armed escort, minimum 3 men, eyes on her at all times. I don't care if she complains. Second, to his consigliere Lee Sang-woo. Find out everything about Victor's operations. I want locations, schedules, weaknesses. We're going to war. Third, to his most trusted soldiers. Gather everyone. Emergency meeting. 1 hour. If Victor wanted war, Min-jae would give him war. But first he'd make sure his daughter was untouchable. The afternoon disappeared into strategy sessions and contingency plans. Min-jae's world operated on 2 levels. The legitimate business that filled his days, and the shadow empire that consumed his nights. Both required constant attention, constant vigilance. By 3:30 p.m. he was reviewing security camera footage from Boston Common. The park where Suah liked to play. The park where Victor's men had been watching. Junho had identified 3 separate occasions over the past week where suspicious individuals had lingered near the playground. Different men each time, but similar behavior. Too focused on the children, specifically on Suah. We should cancel her park visits, Junho said. Too exposed, too many variables. She loves that park. It's one of the few normal things in her life. Boss, if something happens. Nothing will happen. We'll increase security. Covert surveillance. Armed escorts posing as civilians. But I won't take this away from her. Junho looked like he wanted to argue but knew better. Your call. At 4 p.m. Min-jae's phone rang again. This time it was the school. Mr. Kong, this is Principal Morrison. I'm calling because Suah seems upset. She's asking for you specifically. Normally we wouldn't call for something like this, but given her situation, we thought you'd want to know. I'll be there in 15 minutes. He was there in 10, driving himself, Junho riding shotgun with a hand on his concealed weapon. The school's security, which Min-jae paid for extensively, was on high alert. Suah was in the nurse's office, not crying but close to it. When she saw him, she launched herself into his arms. Appa. You came. Of course I came. What's wrong, princess? I miss Amma. It's Tuesday and she used to always pick me up on Tuesdays and we'd go for ice cream and I miss her. The words tumbled out in a rush, half English, half Korean. And I know she's not coming back and I know I should be used to it, but I'm not and I hate it. Min-jae's heart shattered and reformed in the space of a breath. Oh sweetheart. Come here. He held her while she cried, this tiny person who carried so much grief. 5 years since Haewon died, and Suah still had days where the loss hit her fresh and raw. I have an idea, Min-jae said softly. What if we do what Amma used to do? Ice cream on Tuesdays. Just you and me. We'll make it our tradition now. Suah pulled back, hope in her eyes. Really? Really? In fact, why don't we go right now? Uncle Junho can follow in his car and you and I can go get your favorite ice cream. Cookies and cream with gummy bears? Whatever you want, princess. 20 minutes later they were at Boston Common. Suah happily eating ice cream while Min-jae sat on a bench nearby. Junho and 3 other security personnel were scattered throughout the park, trying to look casual. It was moments like this that Min-jae lived for. His daughter, happy and normal, eating ice cream and watching other kids play. This was why he did everything. The violence, the strategy, the constant vigilance. To give her moments like this. Appa, can I go on the swings? Suah asked, ice cream already smeared on her face. Sure. But stay where I can see you. I'm not a baby. I know. But humor your overprotective father. She rolled her eyes but ran toward the swings, her pink dress fluttering. Min-jae watched her with the kind of intense focus that made Junho nervous. Boss, this isn't secure. We should go. 5 more minutes. Let her play. Those 5 minutes would be the longest of Min-jae's life. Because at 5:47 p.m., while Min-jae was checking his phone and Junho had stepped away to take a call, 2 men in dark suits approached the swings. And Sua's scream cut through the afternoon air like broken glass. Min-jae was moving before conscious thought caught up. 1 second he was on the bench, the next he was running, his hand already reaching for the gun concealed in his shoulder holster. But he wasn't fast enough. The 2 men had Sua cornered, one reaching for her as she backed away from the swings. Terror was written across her small face, and Min-jae felt something primal and violent surge through him. Then a woman appeared. She was tall, with rich dark skin and natural hair twisted up, wearing scrubs that marked her as medical personnel. She positioned herself between the men and Sua with the kind of fearless determination that made Min-jae's breath catch even in the midst of his panic. Hey, she said. No. Back away from her. Now. The authority in her voice carried across the playground. People started looking. The men hesitated. Min-jae was still running, Junho shouting behind him, other security personnel converging. But they were too far away and everything was happening too fast. He saw the shorter man, scarred face, cold eyes, reach inside his jacket. Saw the woman see it too. Watched as she made a decision that would haunt Min-jae for the rest of his life. She grabbed Sua and ran. The gunshot made everything else disappear. Min-jae's world narrowed to tunnel vision. His daughter in a stranger's arms running toward safety. The woman's shoulder blooming red with blood but her legs still moving, still carrying Sua away from danger. Junho tackled one of the shooters. Min-jae's other men subdued the second. But Min-jae only had eyes for the woman disappearing into the cafe, his daughter clutched against her chest. He ran after them, vaguely aware of police sirens, of people screaming, of Junho shouting orders. The cafe was chaos, people hiding behind counters, a manager on the phone with 911, and in the back through a doorway marked storage, he heard Sua crying. Stay back. A young barista held up his hands. There's a woman and 2 kids back there, she said. Men with guns. Min-jae pushed past him. That's my daughter. He burst into the storage room and the scene before him made his chest constrict. The woman, the brave, foolish, incredible woman, sat against the wall, blood soaking through her scrub top. Sua was in her lap, crying but unharmed. And next to them, a boy around 8 years old had his small hands pressed against the woman's shoulder, trying to stop the bleeding. Mom, you need to stay awake, the boy was saying, tears streaming down his face. You have to stay awake. I'm awake, baby. I'm okay. The woman's voice was strained but steady. Then she looked up and saw Min-jae. Their eyes met. Min-jae had seen a lot of things in his life. Violence, death, betrayal, loss. He'd learned to control his emotions, to show nothing, to be ice when the situation required it. But looking at this woman, this stranger who'd taken a bullet for his daughter, who was bleeding and hurt but still trying to comfort both children, something cracked in his carefully constructed walls. Appa. Sua scrambled out of the woman's lap and ran to him. Min-jae caught her, his hands shaking as he checked her for injuries. Are you hurt? Did they touch you? Sua, look at me. I'm okay. The angel lady saved me. She was so brave, Appa. She just grabbed me and ran and she got hurt but she kept running. The words tumbled out in a mix of English and Korean, breathless and terrified and relieved. Sure, it's okay. I've got you now. Min-jae held her tight, breathing in her strawberry shampoo, feeling her small heart racing against his chest. She was safe. She was alive. Nothing else mattered. Except the woman who'd made that possible. He looked at her again, really looked. She was beautiful in an understated way, exhaustion and pain etched into features that were probably striking when she wasn't bleeding and terrified. Her brown eyes held intelligence and strength, and the way she'd positioned herself even now, between her son and the door, spoke of a protective instinct that matched his own. You saved her, he said quietly, his voice rough with emotion he couldn't quite control. Anyone would have, she started, but he cut her off. No, they wouldn't have. I saw people freeze. I saw people run away. You ran toward danger. He looked at the blood soaking through her shoulder. You were shot protecting my daughter. It's just a graze. You were shot. He couldn't get past that fact. This woman, this stranger, had taken a bullet for Su'a. You were shot and you kept running. You got her to safety. The boy spoke up, his voice shaky but strong. My mom's a hero. She's always running toward the hard stuff. That's what makes her amazing. Min-jae looked at the boy, 8 years old, trying so hard to be brave, hands still pressed against his mother's shoulder even though the bleeding had mostly stopped. You're right. Your mother is a hero. And so are you. You called 911. You helped save both of them. The boy's chin wobbled. I was scared. I didn't want to leave her, but she told me to run. And you did exactly what she needed you to do. That's courage. Min-jae meant every word. This child had stayed calm under pressure, had helped when it mattered. What's your name? Malik. Malik. I'm Min-jae. And this is my daughter, Su'a. Is she okay? Malik asked, looking at Su'a with concern. She was really scared. She's okay now. Thanks to your mother. Min-jae looked back at the woman. What's your name? Amara. Amara Bennett. Amara. He said it carefully, his accent making it sound almost musical. I owe you a debt I can never repay. You don't owe me anything. I just did what if you say anyone would have done one more time, I'm going to argue with you. He said it gently, but there was steel underneath. What you did was extraordinary. What you did saved my daughter's life. And I will spend the rest of mine making sure you never regret it. Before Amara could respond, paramedics burst into the storage room, along with police and more of Min-jae's security. The small space became crowded with people checking injuries, asking questions, taking statements. Min-jae found himself separated from Amara by the chaos, but he kept her in his line of sight. Watched as paramedics examined her shoulder, as police asked her questions, as she held Malik close and told him over and over that she was fine. Junho appeared at his side. Boss, the men who grabbed Su'a, they're victors. We have them in custody. The police want statements, but we need to move carefully. Handle it. Keep Victor's name out of it for now. I don't want this going public until we understand the full scope. Min-jae's mind was already working through implications, strategies, next steps. And I want protection on that woman and her son. 24/7. They're under our watch now. Boss, is that wise? Getting involved with civilians. She's not a civilian anymore. The moment she stepped between those men and Su'a, she became part of this. Victor's people saw her face. They know she interfered. Min-jae's voice hardened. She's a target now, whether she knows it or not. So what do you want to do? Protect her. Give her security whether she wants it or not. And find out everything about her. Where she lives, where she works, what she needs. I want to know every detail. Junho studied his face. This isn't just about debt, is it? Min-jae didn't answer. He was watching Amara again. The way she comforted Malik, the way she stayed calm despite pain and fear, the fierce protectiveness in every gesture. She reminded him of himself in the ways that mattered. Both of them willing to sacrifice everything for the children they loved. Just do it, Min-jae said quietly. The paramedics wanted to transport Amara to the hospital, but she resisted. I'm a nurse. I can assess my own injury. It's a graze, it needs cleaning and bandaging, that's it. I have my son, I can't leave him. He can come with you, Min-jae interjected, moving through the crowd to her side. My car will follow. I need to speak with you after you're treated. Please. Amara looked up at him and for a moment their eyes held. Min-jae saw the exact moment she recognized the danger he represented, saw wariness creep into her expression, saw her protective instincts kick in. I don't think that's necessary. Those men saw your face. They know you helped Su'a. Which means Victor, the man who sent them, knows too. You're in danger now, Amara. Let me help you. I don't even know you. No. But you saved my daughter. And I protect what's mine. He said it with finality, with absolute conviction. Let the paramedics take you to the hospital. Let me follow. And then we'll talk about how to keep you and Malik safe. He saw her hesitate, saw her look at Malik, saw the moment fear won over pride. Okay, she whispered. But just to the ear. Then we go home. Of course. It was a lie and they both knew it. Because Min-jae had no intention of letting her simply go home to whatever life she'd had before this. She was tangled in his world now, whether she wanted to be or not. And as he watched the paramedics load her into the ambulance, as he saw Malik climb in beside her clutching her hand, as he held Suah and felt his daughter's tears soaking through his shirt, Min-jae made a decision that would change all of their lives forever. He would protect Amara Bennett and her son. Would ensure Victor never touched them. Would give her everything she needed to feel safe. And if she let him, if she gave him the chance, he would give her so much more than that. Because for the first time since Haewon died, Min-jae felt something other than cold calculation and controlled rage. He felt hope. He felt possibility. He felt alive. The emergency room at Massachusetts General Hospital was familiar territory for Amara. She'd worked there for 8 years. But being a patient instead of a nurse felt surreal and uncomfortable. She sat on an exam table in Bay 4 while Janelle, a colleague she'd worked with countless times, cleaned and bandaged her shoulder. "Girl, you got shot," Janelle said for the third time, her voice a mix of concern and disbelief. "You actually got shot saving some kid at the park. Are you insane?" "She needed help," Amara said simply. "And now you need stitches. Hold still." Malik sat in a chair nearby, still pale, watching every move Janelle made. He hadn't let go of Amara's hand except when absolutely necessary, and even then he'd hovered close enough to touch. "It's just 3 stitches, baby," Amara told him gently. "I'm okay." "You got shot, Mom." "That's not okay." He was right, of course. Nothing about this was okay. Amara's carefully controlled life, work, home, Malik, repeat, had been shattered in the space of 30 minutes. And the man responsible for that shattering was currently in the waiting room with his daughter, making phone calls that sounded suspiciously like he was arranging things without her permission. Kang Min-jae. Even his name sounded dangerous. Amara had seen the way other people reacted to him. The deference, the fear, the way the police had treated him with careful respect. She'd seen the way his security moved with military precision, the way he'd shifted from panicked father to something cold and lethal in the space of a breath. This man was not someone to get involved with. This man was trouble wrapped in an expensive suit. But when she remembered the way he'd held his daughter, the raw relief in his eyes, the genuine gratitude in his voice, she couldn't quite categorize him as just dangerous. There was something more there. Something complicated. "All done," Janelle announced, securing the bandage. "Change this daily, keep it dry, watch for signs of infection. You know the drill." "Thanks, Janelle." "Don't thank me. Go home, rest, and maybe reconsider your life choices that led to you getting shot in a park." Before Amara could respond, a nurse poked her head in. "Amara, there's a man here asking about you. Kang Min-jae says he needs to speak with you." Amara's stomach flipped. "Tell him." But Min-jae was already in the doorway, Suah's hand in his dark eyes immediately finding Amara's. "How is your shoulder?" "Fine. Just a graze like I said." 3 stitches. Malik supplied helpfully. "And she has to change the bandage every day." "Thank you, Malik." Min-jae's attention shifted to the boy with surprising gentleness. "Suah wanted to make sure your mom was okay. She's been worried." The little girl peeked out from behind her father's legs. "Is the angel lady okay?" "I'm okay, sweetheart," Amara assured her. "Just a little scratch. You got shot because of me." Suah's eyes filled with tears. "You got hurt saving me." "Hey, no." Amara held out her good arm. "Come here." Suah looked at her father, who nodded and then ran to Amara. She climbed onto the exam table, ignoring all hospital protocols, and threw her small arms around Amara's neck. "Thank you for saving me," she whispered. "You're the bravest person I ever met." Amara's throat tightened. She looked over Suah's head at Min-jae and found him watching them with an expression that was almost soft, vulnerable. "You're welcome, sweetheart," Amara said, hugging the little girl carefully. "I'm so glad you're safe." When Suah pulled back, she looked at Malik. "Your mom is a superhero. You're really lucky." "I know," Malik said quietly. "She's the best." Min-jae cleared his throat. "Amara, I'd like to speak with you privately. Just for a few minutes. I need to get Malik home. Mrs. Song can sit with the children. She's my housekeeper, completely trustworthy. They'll be right outside. Please." Amara wanted to refuse. Should refuse. But she saw the determination in his eyes and knew this conversation would happen whether she wanted it to or not. "Fine. 5 minutes." An older Korean woman appeared, Mrs. Song presumably, and took both children to the waiting room with promises of vending machine snacks. Once they were alone, Min Jae closed the door and turned to face Amara. "I need you to understand something," he said without preamble. "What happened today at the park wasn't random. Those men were sent to take Suah. They were sent to hurt me by hurting her." Amara's blood went cold. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that I have enemies. Dangerous enemies. And you got caught in the crossfire." He moved closer, his presence filling the small exam room. "Viktor Sokolov, the man who sent those men, he knows you interfered. He knows you saved Suah. Which means he sees you as either an obstacle or an asset. I'm neither. I'm a nurse who happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. You're a woman who risked her life for my daughter. That makes you valuable to me, which makes you a target to him." Min Jae's voice was firm. "I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you because you need to understand the situation you're in." "And what situation is that exactly?" "One where you need protection. Where you need to be careful. Where you need to let me help you." "I don't need your help." "Yes, you do." He said it so certainly, so absolutely. "Victor's people saw you. They know what you look like and they know you have a son. If they want to get to me through Suah, they could use you as bait. Or worse." Amara felt panic rising. "You're telling me that I saved your daughter and now my son is in danger?" "I'm telling you that I will do everything in my power to make sure that doesn't happen. But I need you to let me." "By doing what?" "Security. Protection. Someone watching your apartment, your work, Malik's school. Just until I handle Viktor." "No." Amara slid off the exam table, ignoring the pain in her shoulder. "No, I'm not getting my son involved in whatever illegal." "He's already involved." Min Jae's voice rose slightly, then he controlled it. "I'm sorry. But Amara, the moment those men saw you, the moment Viktor learned that someone interfered with his plan, Malik became part of this. I'm not asking you to join my world. I'm asking you to let me protect you while you're caught in it." "For how long?" "I don't know. Weeks. Maybe a month. However long it takes to neutralize the threat." Amara stared at him, trying to read the truth behind his words. "And what do you want in return?" Something flickered in his eyes. "Nothing. This is about debt, about honor. You saved my daughter. I protect you. That's how this works." "That's not how anything works. Everyone wants something. Then what I want is for you to stay alive. For Malik to stay safe. For you to not regret the choice you made today." He stepped closer and Amara caught the scent of expensive cologne and something uniquely him. "Let me do this. Please." Amara thought about Malik. About the look on his face when those guns had gone off. About the fact that they lived in a third-floor walk-up with locks she'd never totally trusted. About the truth in Min Jae's words. That she was already part of this whether she wanted to be or not. "Temporary," she said finally. "Just until you handle whoever this Viktor person is. Then we go back to our normal life." Agreed. And no strings. No expectations beyond basic security. Of course. But when he looked at her, really looked at her with those intense dark eyes that seemed to see straight through every wall she'd built, Amara knew there would be strings. Knew there were already expectations forming between them, invisible but binding. She should have walked away. Should have grabbed Malik and run as far from Kong Min Jae as possible. Instead she heard herself say, "Oh, but we do this my way. I keep working, Malik keeps going to school. We don't change our lives just because you're paranoid." "I'm not paranoid. I'm careful. And yes, you can keep your life. I'll just make sure it stays your life." He pulled out his phone and sent a quick text. Within seconds there was a knock on the door. A man entered, similar age to Min Jae, with a scar through his eyebrow and an air of contained violence. "This is Jun-ho, my head of security," Min Jae introduced. "He'll coordinate your protection detail." Jun-ho bowed slightly. "Miss Bennett, I'll need your address, your work schedule, information about Malik's school and after-school activities." Amara wanted to refuse. Wanted to tell them both to go to hell. But she looked at the door where her son waited and she thought about Viktor Sokolov and men with guns, and she gave Jun-ho every detail he asked for. When she finally walked out to the waiting room, shoulder bandaged, life irrevocably changed, Malik and Suah were sharing a candy bar while Mrs. Song watched over them with grandmotherly affection. "Ready to go home, baby?" Mara asked Malik. "Can Suah come visit?" he asked hopefully. I want to show her my comic book collection. Amara looked at Min-jae, who looked at his daughter. Some silent communication passed between them, and then Min-jae nodded. How about this weekend, he suggested. Saturday afternoon? I can bring Suah to your place. The children can play and you and I can discuss the security arrangements. It was manipulation, using the children's budding friendship to keep Amara in his orbit. She knew it. He knew she knew it. But she also saw the hope in Malik's eyes and couldn't bring herself to refuse. Saturday afternoon. 2 p.m. And Mr. Kong? Min-jae, please. Min-jae. This doesn't mean we're friends. No, he agreed, his lips curving slightly. But perhaps we could be allies. As Amara left the hospital with Malik, she could feel Min-jae's eyes on her. Could feel the weight of the decision she'd made. Could feel her carefully controlled life spiraling into something unknown and dangerous. She'd saved a child at the park. And in return she'd gotten tangled up with a crime boss who looked at her like she was something precious. Like she was something worth protecting. Like she was something worth keeping. God help her, but part of her wanted to be kept. 3 days later, Thursday morning. Amara woke to the sound of unfamiliar voices outside her apartment. For a moment, still fuzzy with sleep, she thought she was dreaming. Then reality crashed back. The park, the shooting, Min-jae's promise of protection. She pulled on her robe and opened the front door to find 2 men in dark suits stationed in the hallway. One was reading a newspaper. The other was drinking coffee. Both immediately straightened when they saw her. Miss Bennett, the first one said with a slight Korean accent. Good morning. I'm Agent Kim. This is Agent Park. We're part of your security detail. You're in my hallway. Yes, ma'am. Mr. Kong felt it was best to have visible protection at your residence. We rotate shifts, 12 hours on, 12 hours off. Amara stared at them. This is insane. My neighbors are going to think I'm a drug dealer or something. We've already spoken to building management and your immediate neighbors. They've been told you're under police protection due to witnessing a crime. Nothing unusual. Everything about this is unusual. But Amara was too tired to argue. She had a shift at the hospital in 2 hours, and she needed coffee more than she needed to fight this battle. Fine. But you're staying in the hallway. Not inside my apartment. Understood. She closed the door and leaned against it, taking a deep breath. This was her life now. Security guards outside her door. Protection details. Getting tangled up with a man who commanded loyalty through fear and money. Mom. Malik appeared from the bedroom, rubbing his eyes. Who are you talking to? Just some men making sure we're safe, baby. From the bad men who tried to hurt Suah? Yeah. From them. Malik was quiet for a moment. Then, is Suah's dad a good guy or a bad guy? It was the question Amara had been asking herself for 3 days. I think he's complicated. But I think he loves his daughter very much, and that makes him at least partially good. Okay. Malik seemed to accept this with the simplified logic of childhood. Are we still going to see them on Saturday? Yeah, baby. We are. The morning routine was surreal with armed guards outside her door. Amara made breakfast, got Malik ready for school, and tried to pretend this was normal. When they left the apartment, Agent Kim and Agent Park followed at a discreet distance. At Malik's school, Amara noticed another suited man standing near the entrance. He nodded at Agents Kim and Park. Some kind of acknowledgement between security personnel. Min-jae had people everywhere. Miss Bennett. The principal, Mrs. Henderson, called to her as Malik ran to join his friends. Could I speak with you for a moment? Amara's stomach dropped. Is something wrong? Not wrong exactly. Just unusual. A representative from the Kong family contacted us yesterday. They've made a substantial donation to the school's security fund and requested enhanced protection protocols for Malik. They were very thorough and very generous. I'm sorry, I didn't know they would. Please don't apologize. The donation will allow us to upgrade our security systems and hire an additional resource officer. Benefits all our students. I just wanted you to know that Malik will be very well looked after. As Amara walked to the T-station, trailed by her ever-present shadows, she pulled out her phone and typed a text to Min-jae. You didn't tell me you'd be donating to my son's school. His response came within seconds. I told you I'd make sure he was safe. This is part of that. You could have asked me first. Would you have said yes? Amara stared at the message. He was right. She would have refused, would have told him it was too much, would have let her pride get in the way of Malik's safety. "Thank you," she finally typed. "But please don't make decisions about my son without talking to me first." "Fair enough. Dinner tonight? I'd like to discuss the security arrangements properly. I work until 7. I'll pick you up after your shift. We'll go somewhere quiet where we can talk." Amara knew she should refuse. Knew that dinner with Min-jae would blur lines that should stay clear. But she also needed to understand exactly what she'd agreed to, what his protection really meant. But just dinner. Just talking. Just dinner, he agreed. But something about the way he phrased it, the slight pause she could almost feel through the text, suggested he didn't believe that any more than she did. The shift at Massachusetts General was blessedly busy, which meant Amara didn't have time to think about crime bosses or security details or the way Min-jae's eyes had lingered on her face like he was memorizing it. She had patients to care for, emergencies to triage, and the familiar chaos of the ER to lose herself in. "You're walking differently," Kendra observed during their lunch break. "Protein bars eaten standing up in the break room. Favoring your left shoulder. What happened?" Amara had been avoiding this conversation. "Long story. Girl, I've got 12 minutes before I'm back on the floor. Give me the short version." So Amara told her. The park, the shooting, saving Suah. She left out most of the details about Min-jae, but Kendra was too sharp to miss the careful omissions. "Wait, back up. You saved a kid from armed kidnappers, got shot, and then the kid's father, who I'm guessing is rich and powerful based on the sudden security detail you're pretending not to have, wants to thank you?" Amara, this sounds like the beginning of a romance novel. Or a crime drama. Or both. It's neither. It's just complicated. Is he attractive? That's not relevant. It's absolutely relevant. Is he single? Widower? And what? And are you attracted to him? Kendra's eyes glinted with interest. "Because I haven't seen you look at a man with any interest since Marcus left, and now you're blushing just talking about this mysterious father." "I'm not blushing." "You're totally blushing. Amara Bennett, are you crushing on the crime boss?" "He's not a crime boss. He's a businessman. With armed security and enemies who kidnap children." "Honey, that's a crime boss." But Kendra's voice was gentle, not judgmental. "Just be careful, okay? Men like that, powerful, dangerous, all-consuming, they can be addictive. And you've got Malik to think about." "I know. Trust me, I know." But as Amara went back to work, she couldn't stop thinking about Min-jae. The way he'd looked at her in the hospital. The way his voice had softened when he'd spoken to Malik. The way he'd held Suah like she was his entire world. Dangerous men weren't supposed to be good fathers. Weren't supposed to have gentle eyes and careful hands. Weren't supposed to make Amara feel safe and terrified at the same time. At 7:15 p.m., Amara changed out of her scrubs and headed for the hospital's staff exit. She texted Min-jae the location, and true to his word, he was waiting, leaning against a sleek black Mercedes looking like Sin in a charcoal suit. "How was work?" he asked as she approached, pushing off the car to open the passenger door for her. "Busy. 3 cardiac arrests, 2 traumas, and a guy who stuck a light bulb where light bulbs should never go." Min-jae's lips twitched. "Sounds eventful." "It's the ER. Eventful is our baseline." She slid into the car. Leather seats that probably cost more than her monthly rent, that same expensive cologne scent that she was beginning to associate with him. "Where are we going?" "My place. I had my chef prepare dinner. It's more private than a restaurant, and we need privacy for this conversation." Amara's pulse quickened. "Your place? That's not. So I will be there. Mrs. Song. Kunho. Hardly intimate." He started the car, pulling smoothly into Boston traffic. "Unless you'd prefer somewhere public?" The problem was that Amara didn't prefer somewhere public. She wanted to see where Min-jae lived, wanted to understand his world. Wanted to see how Suah existed in that world. "Your place is fine." They drove in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Then Min-jae asked, "How's your shoulder?" "Healing. The stitches itch." "That means it's working. My mother used to say that itching was the body's way of telling you it remembered how to fix itself." "Your mother sounds wise." "She was. Before she got sick." His hands tightened slightly on the steering wheel. "She died when I was 20. Cancer. It was fast and brutal, and it broke my father." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. It was a long time ago." but his voice carried old pain. She would have liked you. She always said that the bravest people were the ones who helped others without expecting anything in return. Is that why you're doing all this? Because your mother would have approved. I'm doing this because you saved my daughter. Because you risked your life for a stranger. Because you deserve to be protected. He glanced at her, his dark eyes intense. And maybe a little because I want to. The honesty in his words made Amara's breath catch. You don't know me. Not yet. But I'd like to. He turned his attention back to the road. If you'll let me. Min-jae's penthouse was everything Amara expected and nothing she was prepared for. Yes, it was massive and expensive and spoke of serious wealth. But it was also warm. Sua's artwork covered the refrigerator. Toys were scattered across the living room floor. Family photos lined the hallway. Min-jae and Sua, candid shots of laughter and love. Amara. Sua came running the moment they entered, throwing herself at Amara with the enthusiasm of a 6-year-old who'd found a hero. You came. Appa said you were coming for dinner and I've been waiting forever. Hi, sweetheart. Amara hugged her carefully, mindful of her healing shoulder. How are you? Good. I made you a picture at school. Want to see? Of course. Sua dragged her to the refrigerator where a crayon drawing depicted 2 figures. One tall with dark skin, one small with a pink dress. Amara the hero was written across the top in careful letters. It's beautiful, Amara said, her throat tight. Thank you, Sua. I told everyone at school about you. About how you saved me from the bad men. My teacher said you were very brave. Your teacher was right, Min-jae said, coming to stand beside them. Amara is very brave. Dinner was an elaborate Korean meal. Bulgogi, japchae, kimchi, and at least 6 other dishes Amara couldn't name. The chef had even made fried chicken strips for the kids, knowing that 6-year-olds sometimes preferred familiar foods. They ate in the dining room, a space that could have been cold and formal but was softened by Sua's presence. The little girl chattered constantly, asking Amara about her work, about Malik, about everything. Min-jae watched the interaction with something like wonder in his eyes. Sua hasn't been this comfortable with anyone new since Haewon died, he said quietly after his daughter had finished eating and run off to play. She's usually shy, reserved. But with you. Children sense when someone cares about them, Amara said. She knows I care. Do you care? Of course. She's a sweet little girl who's been through too much. She's not the only one. Min-jae's eyes held hers. You've been through too much too. Single mother working impossible hours making ends meet. And then you get caught up in my world on top of everything else. How do you know about my life? I had Junho run a background check. Don't be angry, I needed to know who I was protecting. He said it matter-of-factly, no apology. You work 50-hour weeks at Massachusetts General. You have $47,000 in student loans. Your rent is $1,200 a month. Which is too much for that apartment, but it's in a safe neighborhood. Malik's father pays exactly $200 a month in child support. Court-ordered, always late. You haven't dated anyone seriously in 3 years. And you donate blood every 8 weeks because you believe in giving back. Amara felt exposed, vulnerable. You had no right. I had every right. The moment you became part of Sua's life, the moment you became someone I needed to protect, I had the right to know who you are. He leaned forward. But the background check only told me facts. It didn't tell me why you became a nurse. Why you're so fierce about protecting your son. Why you ran toward danger instead of away from it. Those are my stories to tell. Not facts in a file. So tell me. Help me understand you. Amara wanted to refuse. Wanted to keep her walls up, her life private. But something about the way he looked at her, genuinely interested, not just collecting information, made her want to share. I became a nurse because my grandmother raised me after my parents died in a car accident when I was 7. She was a home health aide and I watched her care for people with such gentle kindness. She made people feel valued in their worst moments. I wanted to do that too. And Malik's father? Marcus was charming and fun and promised me forever. Then forever lasted exactly 3 years before he decided fatherhood was suffocating, and a 22-year-old with no stretch marks was more appealing. Amara's voice was flat. He left when Malik was 5. I haven't depended on a man since. Not all men are Marcus. No. Some are worse. Some are crime bosses who run protection rackets and import illegal goods and probably do 100 other things I don't want to know about. Min-jae didn't deny it. Yes, I'm those things. But I'm also a father who loves his daughter. A man who keeps his word. Someone who protects what's his. I'm not yours to protect. Aren't you? He said it softly. You saved Suah. That makes you family whether you accept it or not. In Korean culture, that kind of debt, that kind of sacrifice, it binds people. You're part of us now, Amara. I didn't ask to be part of anything. No. But you are. And I'm going to make sure you're safe, that Malik is safe, that you never regret the choice you made in that park. He stood, moving to the window that overlooked Boston Harbor. Viktor Sokolov won't stop. He wants territory, wants power, wants to destroy me. And he'll use anyone he thinks I care about to do it. So what does that mean? It means maximum security until I neutralize the threat. It means changing your routines, being vigilant, trusting my people to keep you safe. He turned back to face her. And it means spending more time with me. With us. Because the more visible you are as someone under my protection, the less likely Viktor is to move against you directly. You want to use me as bait. I want to use you as a shield. There's a difference. Min-jae crossed back to the table. If Viktor sees you as important to me, if he sees Suah attached to you, sees you in my life, he'll hesitate before moving. He's calculating. He won't risk an all-out war over something uncertain. But I'm not important to you. We barely know each other. Don't we? Min-jae's voice dropped lower. I know you're fierce and brave and selfless. I know you love your son more than breathing. I know you took a bullet for a stranger's child without hesitation. That tells me everything important about who you are. And what about you? What do I know about you? What do you want to know? Amara thought about it. Why crime? You're obviously intelligent, educated. You could have done anything legal. I inherited this empire from my father. He built it from nothing, coming to America with nothing but ambition and ruthlessness. He gave me everything, education, opportunity, choices he never had. And when he was killed, I had a choice. Let everything he built crumble or take over. I chose to honor his legacy. By continuing the crime. By protecting our people. By giving jobs to immigrants who can't get legitimate work. By keeping our community safe from worse predators. He said it without defensiveness. I'm not a good man, Amara. I won't pretend to be. But I'm not the worst man either. And I'm trying to transition everything to legitimate businesses. For Suah's future. It takes time. How much time? As long as it takes to not get killed in the process. The honesty was stark. Brutal. And somehow made Amara trust him more than any pretty lie would have. Okay, she said finally. I'll do this. I'll be visible, I'll spend time with you and Suah. But I need boundaries. I need to know what I'm agreeing to. Fair enough. What boundaries? No lies. If something's happening, if I'm in danger, you tell me directly. No sugarcoating. Agreed. Malik's safety comes first. Before mine, before yours, before any business consideration. Already a given. And Amara hesitated. This stays professional. Protection, security, keeping up appearances. Nothing more. Min-jae studied her face for a long moment. If that's what you want. It is. Then that's what we'll do. But something in his eyes suggested he didn't believe her any more than she believed herself. Because the truth was that Amara was already feeling the pull. The dangerous attraction to this complicated man who looked at her like she was something precious. Who made her feel protected and desired and seen in ways she hadn't felt in years. I should go, she said, standing. It's late and I need to pick up Malik from Grandma Letty's. I'll drive you. You don't need to. Amara. He said her name like a promise. I'm driving you. Don't argue. He didn't. Saturday afternoon. The first real test. True to Min-jae's word, he arrived at Amara's apartment at exactly 2 p.m. on Saturday with Suah practically bouncing with excitement. Malik. Suah ran to him the moment they entered, hugging him like they were old friends rather than kids who'd met once during a traumatic event. I brought my coloring books. And my Nintendo Switch. Appa says we can play Mario Kart. Cool. Malik's face lit up. I have Mario Kart too. And I can show you my comic books. The children disappeared into Malik's room, leaving Amara and Minjae standing in her small living room. He looked impossibly out of place. Designer suit in her thrift store furnished apartment, expensive cologne mixing with the scent of the cheap candles she used to make the place feel homey. "Your home is nice," he said, looking around with genuine interest. "Comfortable. It's small. Small can be good. Sua's room in the penthouse is huge, but sometimes I think she feels lost in it. This feels lived in. Loved." Amara felt herself softening. "Do you want coffee? It's not fancy, but it's strong." Coffee would be perfect. They sat at her tiny kitchen table, so different from his elegant dining room, and talked. Really talked. About Sua's nightmares and Malik's struggles with Marcus's inconsistency. About Minjae's plans to transition the business and Amara's dreams of eventually getting her nurse practitioner license. "Why haven't you gone back to school?" Minjae asked. "For the NP program? Money. Time. Malik. Take your pick." Amara stirred her coffee. "The program is 2 years, mostly full-time. I can't not work for 2 years. And student loans. I'm already drowning in them from my BSN. What if money wasn't an issue? It's always an issue. But hypothetically, if you could go back to school, would you?" Amara thought about it, really thought about it. "Yeah. I would. I love bedside nursing, but I want to do more. Diagnose. Prescribe. Really change patient outcomes." She laughed bitterly. "But hypotheticals don't pay bills." Minjae was quiet for a moment. "Then, let me pay for it." "What?" "No. Let me pay for your MP program. Tuition, books, living expenses while you're in school. Consider it part of the debt I owe you." "Absolutely not. That's insane." "Why? You saved my daughter's life. Paying for 2 years of education is nothing compared to that. It's too much. It's an investment." Minjae leaned forward. "You're brilliant, Amara. Anyone can see that. You should be using that brilliance to its fullest potential. Let me help you do that. I can't accept that kind of money from you. People would think. Think what? That I'm grateful? That I recognize talent and want to support it?" His eyes held hers. "Or are you worried they'll think there's something between us? Is there?" The question slipped out before Amara could stop it. "Do you want there to be?" The air between them went charged electric. Amara could feel her pulse in her throat, could see the way Minjae's eyes had darkened, could sense the shift in his body language from friendly to something more. "I don't know," she whispered. "This is complicated. Life is complicated. That doesn't mean we can't." "Mom. Sua's dad. Come see." Malik's voice interrupted, saving Amara from having to finish that dangerous conversation. They found the children in Malik's room, having built an elaborate fort out of blankets and pillows. Sua was giggling, her earlier trauma seeming distant, and Malik looked happier than Amara had seen him in months. "This is the best fort ever," Sua declared. "Can we have snacks in here?" "Absolutely," Amara said, grateful for the distraction. "What do you guys want?" "Popcorn," both children shouted in unison. While Amara made popcorn, Minjae stood in her kitchen doorway, watching her with an intensity that made her self-conscious. "What?" she finally asked. "Nothing. Just, this is nice. Domestic. Normal. Is normal so rare for you?" "Extremely." He moved closer. "My life is meetings and territory disputes and constant vigilance. This, kids playing, making popcorn weekend afternoons, I haven't had this since Haewon died. Do you miss it?" "More than I can say." His voice was raw. "Sua deserves this. Deserves normal. And I can't give it to her because of who I am. But you're trying. That counts for something. Does it? Or am I just fooling myself that I can be both things? The man who protects his empire and the father who makes popcorn on Saturday afternoons." Amara turned to face him fully. "I think you're a man trying to do his best in an impossible situation. I think you love your daughter fiercely. And I think you're harder on yourself than you need to be. You barely know me. I know enough." She handed him the bowl of popcorn. "Come on. Let's go feed the kids before they stage a rebellion." They spent the afternoon in comfortable chaos. Video games and coloring books and children's laughter. Junho had stationed himself outside Amara's apartment, along with the regular security detail, but inside it felt almost normal. Almost like they were a family. The thought terrified and thrilled Amara in equal measure. As the afternoon wore on, Suah fell asleep in the blanket fort, exhausted from play. Min-jae carried her to Amara's couch, tucking her in with a gentleness that made Amara's heart ache. She hasn't slept this peacefully in weeks, he said quietly. Usually she wakes up from nightmares multiple times. She feels safe here. She feels safe with you. Min-jae looked at Amara. So do I. Before Amara could respond, her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Amara Bennett? The voice was male-accented, Russian she thought with cold dread. You should be more careful about who you save. Children of criminals don't deserve heroes. They deserve to learn what their fathers really are. Who is this? Someone who knows you work Tuesday through Saturday at Massachusetts General. Someone who knows your son goes to Roosevelt Elementary. Someone who knows you're not as protected as you think you are. The line went dead. Amara's hands shook. Min-jae was beside her instantly, taking the phone, checking the number. What did they say? Amara repeated the message, her voice barely steady. Min-jae's face went cold. The businessman disappearing, replaced by something lethal. Pack a bag, he said. You and Malik. You're coming to stay at the penthouse. What? No. That was Victor. Or one of his people. They know where you work, where Malik goes to school. Your apartment isn't secure enough. His voice was hard. I'm not asking, Amara. I'm telling you. Pack a bag. Now. For how long? However long it takes. Amara wanted to argue. Wanted to insist she could handle this herself. But the fear in her chest, the terror at the thought of someone threatening Malik, won out. Okay, she whispered. Okay, we'll come. As she packed bags for herself and Malik, as Min-jae made rapid calls to Junho arranging increased security, as the reality of her situation crashed down around her, Amara realized something fundamental had shifted. She wasn't just under Min-jae's protection anymore. She was in his world. And there was no going back. 3 days later, Tuesday evening. Living in Min-jae's penthouse was surreal. Amara had her own bedroom, a guest suite bigger than her entire apartment. Malik bunked with Suah in her massive bedroom, the two children becoming inseparable. Mrs. Song cooked elaborate meals. Security was everywhere. And Min-jae was complicated. He left early for work, came home late. But when he was there, he was present, helping with homework, playing with the kids, asking Amara about her shifts at the hospital. They fell into a routine that felt dangerously domestic. They also hadn't talked about the moment in her apartment. The charged conversation that the threatening phone call had interrupted. The question that hung between them. Is there something here? Amara was in the kitchen making tea when Min-jae came home Tuesday night. It was late, after 11 p.m., and she should have been asleep. But sleep had been elusive lately. You're up late, he said, loosening his tie as he entered. Couldn't sleep. Too much on my mind. Anything I can help with? That depends. Can you make Viktor Sokolov disappear? I'm working on it. He poured himself a whiskey, the amber liquid catching the light. We've identified most of his operations. In another week, maybe 2, I'll be ready to move. Move how? Do you really want to know? Amara thought about it. Yes. I'm in this now. I deserve to know what moving means. Min-jae studied her face, then nodded. It means cutting off his supply lines. Taking his territory. Making it clear that attacking my family has consequences. It means violence. Yes. Violence. I won't lie to you about that. Will you kill him? If necessary. But I'd prefer to simply break him. Killing creates martyrs. Defeating creates examples. The clinical way he discussed it should have scared Amara. Should have sent her running. But instead she found herself asking, and then what? After Victor is handled. Then you and Malik can go home if you want. Or, he paused. Or you can stay. Stay. Here. With us. So adores you. Mrs. Song loves having you around. And I. He set down his glass. I've gotten used to coming home to you. Amara's heart hammered. Min-jae. I know we agreed this was professional. I know you wanted boundaries. But I can't pretend anymore, Amara. I can't pretend that this is just protection. That you're just someone I'm keeping safe. That what I feel is just gratitude. What do you feel? He crossed to her slowly, giving her time to back away. He didn't. I feel like I've been dead for 5 years and you brought me back to life. I feel like Suwa finally has what she's needed. Someone who loves her not because they have to, but because they want to. I feel like Malik deserves the father figure he's been missing. And I feel like you and I could be something extraordinary if you'd let us try. This is crazy. We've known each other less than 2 weeks. I knew I loved Haewon after 3 days. Time doesn't determine connection. His hand came up to cup her face. I'm not asking you to love me. I'm asking you to give us a chance. Let me court you properly. Let me show you what I can offer. I don't need what you can offer. I don't need money or security or... I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about partnership. Someone who understands sacrifice because I make it every day for Suwa. Someone who sees the man beneath the business. Someone who challenges me to be better. I can't be with a criminal. Then I'll stop being one. He said it with absolute certainty. I'm already transitioning out. For Suwa, I said. But now it's for you too. Give me 6 months, Amara. 6 months to prove I can be the man you deserve. Amara wanted to say no. Wanted to protect her heart, protect Malik, protect the careful life she'd built. But standing there with Min-jae's hand on her face, his dark eyes full of hope and want and something that looked dangerously like love, she couldn't bring herself to refuse. 6 months, she whispered. But if I see any sign that this is bad for Malik, then you walk away. I'll make sure you're safe, set up however you want. No strings. Okay. Okay, we'll try. Min-jae's smile transformed his face, making him look younger, lighter. Thank you. He leaned in slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. Mar didn't. Their lips met in a kiss that was gentle at first, testing. Then his hand slid into her hair, her hands gripped his shirt, and the kiss deepened into something desperate and hungry and perfect. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Min-jae rested his forehead against hers. I've wanted to do that since the moment I saw you in that storage room, bleeding and brave and protecting my daughter. That's slightly concerning timing. He laughed. A real laugh that made her smile. What can I say? I'm attracted to heroism. They stood there for a long moment, wrapped in each other, the city lights of Boston spreading out beyond the windows. It felt right. Perfect. Like coming home. Then Min-jae's phone rang. He checked the screen and his entire body tensed. I need to take this. Is it? Victor. Calling my private line. He answered in Korean, his voice hard. What do you want? Amara couldn't understand the rapid conversation, but she watched Min-jae's face darken with rage. His hand clenched around the phone. His jaw worked like he was trying to control himself. If you touch them, I will kill everyone you love, he said in English, clearly wanting Amara to understand. Every single person. Your brother. Your mother. Your children. I will destroy your entire bloodline. More Russian from the other end. Then we understand each other. Min-jae hung up. What did he say? He knows you're here. Knows Malik is here. He's threatening to move against you unless I concede territory. Min-jae's voice was ice. He thinks you're my weakness. Aren't I? No. Min-jae turned to face her. You're my strength. And I'm going to show him the difference. That night, Min-jae called an emergency meeting with his entire organization. Amara wasn't invited. This was business, not personal, but she could hear the raised voices from behind closed doors. Could feel the tension humming through the penthouse. Junho came to check on her around 2 a.m., his face grim. Miss Bennett, we're moving to maximum security protocol. No one leaves the penthouse without armed escort. No exceptions. How long? Until it's over. Boss is making his move tomorrow night. After that. He shrugged. Either Victor backs down or this escalates to war. And if it's war? Then you and the children get moved to a safe house outside the city. Non-negotiable. Amara's hands shook. This was real. The danger, the violence. All of it was real and immediate, and she'd brought it into Malik's life. Junho, is Min-jae going to be okay? The security chief's expression softened slightly. Boss is the smartest, most strategic person I know. He doesn't take unnecessary risks. But this business, there's always risk. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. After he left, Amara went to check on the children. They were asleep in Sua's room, curled up together in the massive bed like puppies. Innocent. unaware of the storm building around them. "I won't let anything happen to you," she whispered to Malik, stroking his hair. "I promise." But she wasn't sure it was a promise she could keep. Wednesday night, the confrontation. The day had been unbearably tense. Min-jae left at noon with Junho and 8 of his best men. He'd kissed Suah goodbye, held her for a long moment, then turned to Amara. "If something happens—" "Nothing's going to happen," Amara interrupted, but her voice shook. "If something happens," he continued firmly, "Junho has instructions. You and the children will be taken to a safe location. Money has been set aside for you. Legal documents naming you as Suah's guardian. Everything you need." "Min-jae, don't talk like that. I need to know they're protected. Both of them. All of you." He cupped her face in both hands. "Promise me you'll take care of her if I don't come back. You're coming back. Promise me." Tears burned Amara's eyes. "I promise. But you're coming back because I didn't agree to 6 months just to have you die after 2 weeks." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I'll do my best." Then he kissed her, deep and desperate and filled with everything they hadn't said yet. When he pulled away, Amara saw fear in his eyes for the first time since she'd met him. "I love you," he said quietly. "I know it's fast and probably insane, but I love you, Amara Bennett. And I'm going to come back to you." Before she could respond, he was gone. The hours crawled by. Amara kept the children occupied with movies and games, but her phone stayed clutched in her hand. Mrs. Song cooked dinner that no one ate. The security team stationed throughout the penthouse was on high alert, weapons visible now instead of concealed. At 8 p.m. Sue asked, "Where's Appa?" "Working, baby. He'll be home soon." "Is he in danger?" Amara looked at this little girl who'd already lost one parent and felt her heart break. "Your Appa is very smart and very careful. He's going to be fine. You promise?" Amara couldn't promise, but she said it anyway. "I promise." At 10 p.m. both children were finally asleep. Amara sat in the living room staring at her phone, jumping at every sound. The security team's radios crackled periodically with updates she couldn't understand, Korean mixed with codes. At 11:47 p.m. her phone rang. "Junho. Miss Bennett, we have a situation. Victor's men hit one of our warehouses on the south side. It's a diversion. They're trying to draw our forces away from the main target." "Where's Min-jae?" "With the primary team at Victor's main operation. But we have reports of movement near the penthouse. I'm sending additional security to your location. Do not leave the apartment. Do not open the door for anyone you don't recognize. Do you understand?" "Yes, but I need to go. Lock the interior doors. Get the children to the panic room. Now." The line went dead. Amara's hands shook as she ran to Suah's bedroom. "Malik so'ah wake'ub. We need to go to a different room." "Mom." Malik rubbed his eyes. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong, baby. But we're going to play a game. We're going to go to a special safe room, okay?" Suah was awake now, fear in her eyes. "Is Appa okay?" "Your Appa's fine. This is just a precaution." Mrs. Song appeared in the doorway, her face grave. "Miss Bennett, I'll take the children. You need to stay here and wait for word." "I'm not leaving them. The panic room only holds 3 people comfortably. I'll keep them safe. You need to be available when Mr. Kong calls." It went against every instinct, but Mrs. Song was right. Amara hugged both children fiercely. "Be brave. Do exactly what Mrs. Song says. I'll come get you as soon as it's safe." She watched them disappear down the hallway toward the hidden panic room, then returned to the living room. 2 security guards were stationed at the door, weapons drawn. The tension was suffocating. At 12:15 a.m. Amara heard it, gunfire, distant but unmistakable. Then closer. Then the sound of the penthouse's security alarm blaring. One of the guards spoke rapidly into his radio, then turned to Amara. "Miss Bennett, get down. Now." Amara dropped behind the couch as the windows exploded inward. Glass rained down. More gunfire, deafening in the enclosed space. She covered her head, praying the children couldn't hear this from the panic room. Then silence. Amara stayed down, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might burst. She heard footsteps, heavy boots on broken glass. "Clear," someone shouted in accented English. Russian. Victor's men had breached the penthouse. Amara tried to stay quiet, tried to think. The panic room was hidden secure. The children were safe. She just needed to survive long enough for Min Jae's people to respond. Where is the woman? A voice she recognized from the phone call. Victor himself. Kang's little nurse? I know you're here. Amara held her breath. Come out, Miss Bennett. If you cooperate, no one else needs to die. If you don't. She heard a gun cock. Well, we'll tear this place apart until we find those children Kang loves so much. The children. He was threatening the children. Amara stood up slowly, hands raised. I'm here. Don't hurt anyone. Victor Sokolov stood in the destroyed living room, older than she expected, maybe mid-50s, with cold blue eyes and a scar running down his neck. 4 armed men flanked him. Ah, the hero, Victor smiled, but it was a predator's expression. The brave nurse who saved the little girl. Do you know what happens to people who interfere in my business, Miss Bennett? I was protecting a child. That's not business, that's basic humanity. Humanity. Victor laughed. Kang has made you soft with his words, yes? Made you think he's better than me? We are the same, him and I. Criminals. Killers. The only difference is he has a prettier face. He's nothing like you. No? Then where is he now? He left you here unprotected while he goes to destroy my operations. You're bait, Miss Bennett. Nothing more. That's not true. It's exactly true. And now you will call him. Tell him that if he wants you alive, he will surrender his territory to me. Or I will kill you slowly while he listens. Victor's man shoved a phone at Amara. Her hands shook as she dialed Min Jae's number. He answered on the first ring. Amara? Are you safe? Min Jae. Her voice broke. Victor is here. In the penthouse. He has me. The silence on the other end was terrible. Then Min Jae's voice came back, colder than death itself. Put him on. Victor took the phone, his smile widening. Gam. Good evening. Amar couldn't hear Min Jae's response, but whatever he said made Victor's smile falter slightly. Big words from a man whose woman I'm currently holding at gunpoint. Here's what happens next. You surrender the docks, the South End operations and the shipping contracts. Or I put a bullet in her head and then I find those children. More silence. Then Victor's face went pale. What do you mean? He asked. Then, that's impossible. You're bluffing. But Amara could hear sirens now. Multiple sirens. And not just police, federal agents based on the distinct pattern. Victor's men were looking around nervously. Whatever Min Jae had said, it had changed the equation. You're lying, Victor said, but his voice had lost its certainty. You wouldn't. The penthouse door burst open. But it wasn't Min Jae's men who poured in. It was FBI agents, tactical gear, weapons drawn. FBI. Drop your weapons. Now. Victor's men hesitated. Victor himself looked between the agents and the phone in his hand, understanding dawning. You set me up, he said into the phone. This whole thing, the territory disputes drawing me out, you were working with the feds. Amar couldn't hear Min Jae's response, but Victor's bitter laugh suggested confirmation. Drop the weapon, an FBI agent shouted at Victor. Last warning. Victor looked at Amara, something like respect in his cold eyes. He loves you. Really loves you. I didn't think Kang Min Jae could love anything except power. Then he lowered his gun. I surrender. The next hour was chaos. FBI agents everywhere taking statements, securing the scene. Amara was checked by paramedics despite her protests that she was fine. Mrs. Song brought the children out from the panic room, both of them crying but unharmed. And through it all, Amara waited for Min Jae. He arrived at 2 a.m. Junho at his side. His suit was torn, blood on his knuckles, but he was alive. His eyes found Amara immediately, and the raw relief in his expression made her knees weak. Amara. He crossed to her in 3 strides, pulling her into his arms. God, Amara. When Victor said he had you. I'm okay. We're all okay. She pulled back to look at him. What happened? The FBI. I've been working with them for 6 months. Since before I met you. Transitioning out of the business didn't just mean going legitimate. It meant taking down the people who made legitimate impossible. Victor, the other families, all of them. He touched her face like he needed to confirm she was real. I gave them everything. Evidence, testimony, access. In exchange for immunity and protection. Why didn't you tell me? Because the fewer people who knew, the safer you were. If Victor had known I was cooperating with the feds, he would have killed you immediately instead of trying to use you as leverage. So you used yourself as bait. Drew him out. I used the situation. Victor was always going to move against me. I just controlled when and how. Min-jae's jaw clenched. But I didn't anticipate him breaching the penthouse. That was my mistake. His voice broke. I almost lost you. But you didn't. I'm here. We're all here. Appa. Sua ran to him, Malik close behind. Min-jae scooped up his daughter, then reached out to include Malik in the embrace. Over their heads his eyes met Amara's. Is it over? She asked. Yes. Victor will spend the rest of his life in federal prison. His organization is being dismantled as we speak. The other families will fall in line or follow Victor's path. He set Sua down gently. It's over, Amara. Really over. And you? What happens to you? I'm officially out. Pling. The FBI has what they need and I have my immunity deal. The businesses are being transitioned to fully legitimate operations. No more crime. No more violence. Just a normal life. Is that what you want? It's what I need. For Sua. For us. He pulled her close again. If you'll still have me after all this. Amara thought about everything that had happened. The terror, the danger, the impossible choices. She thought about the man who'd orchestrated an FBI takedown to protect his family. Who'd risked everything for a chance at normal. I'll have you, she whispered. But you're right, we need normal. The kids need normal. I need normal. Then normal is what we'll build. He kissed her forehead. Together. 6 months later. The Saturday morning sun streamed through the windows of the house in Brookline. Not the penthouse, but a real house with a backyard and a neighborhood and the kind of normal Min-jae had promised. Amara woke to the sound of children's laughter and the smell of pancakes. She found Min-jae in the kitchen, Sua on the counter helping by eating chocolate chips directly from the bag, while Malik mixed batter with intense concentration. You're supposed to be sleeping in, Min-jae said when he saw her, but his smile was warm. It's Saturday. You're one day off. I heard my family. Couldn't stay away. Amara crossed to him and he pulled her in for a kiss that made Sua giggle and Malik pretend to gag. Gross, Malik declared, but he was smiling. Can we have chocolate chips in the pancakes? Absolutely not, Amara said. Definitely, Min-jae said at the same time. They looked at each other and Min-jae grinned. Democracy. Kids vote for chocolate chips. Yes, both children shouted. I'm outvoted, Amara laughed. Fine. Chocolate chip pancakes it is. This was her life now. This beautiful, chaotic, perfect life. 6 months since that terrifying night. 6 months since Victor's arrest had made headlines. Major organized crime boss arrested in FBI sting operation. The details had been carefully controlled, Amara and the children's names kept out of it, but the impact had been huge. Min-jae had kept every promise. The businesses were legitimate now. Restaurants thriving, import company focusing on legal goods, real estate development that actually helped communities instead of exploiting them. He'd even started a foundation focused on helping immigrant families, putting his resources toward good instead of control. And Amara had started her nurse practitioner program. Min-jae had insisted on paying for it, not as payment but as an investment in their future. She'd accepted after weeks of argument with the condition that she'd pay him back. He'd agreed, though they both knew he'd never accept the money. Mom, are we still going to Nana Rose's for dinner? Malik asked through a mouthful of pancake. Don't talk with your mouth full, baby. But yes, we're going. And then tomorrow we're having lunch with Halmiani. That was Min-jae's mother who'd flown in from Seoul last month and hadn't left yet. The meeting between Grandma Rose and Min-jae's mother had been interesting. Two strong women sizing each other up, both protective of their families. But they'd found common ground in their love for the children and their grudging respect for each other's strength. I like having two grandmas, Sua announced. Nana Rose makes the best sweet potato pie, and Halmiani makes the best tteokbokki. You're a very lucky girl, Min-jae said, kissing her head. Two grandmas, a brother, and the best moms anyone could ask for. Moms. Plural. Amara still wasn't used to it, wasn't used to Sua calling her mom instead of Miss Amara. It had started gradually, naturally, until one day it was just normal. and Min-jae had started introducing her as Sua's mother without the qualifiers. "When are you and Miss Amara getting married?" Malik asked with the bluntness of childhood. "Sua and I want to know." Min-jae and Amara exchanged glances. They talked about it, late-night conversations about forever and commitment and building a legal family. But they'd been taking things slow, letting the kids adjust, making sure this was real and lasting. "Soon," Min-jae said. "If your mom will have me." "I don't know," Amara teased. "You're a lot of work. The expensive suits, the dramatic past, the overprotective tendencies. The incredible cooking skills, the devotion to family, the willingness to destroy organized crime for the woman he loves." "Well, when you put it that way." Amara kissed him. "Yes. Soon." "Yes." Min-jae's face lit up. "You're saying yes?" "I'm saying yes. Let's get married." The children erupted in cheers, jumping up and down, already planning the wedding in excited voices that talked over each other. "Can I be the flower girl?" Suo asked. "Can I walk you down the aisle?" Malik asked. "Since my dad isn't around and I want to do it." Amara's throat tightened. "Of course, baby. I would love that." Min-jae pulled them all into a group hug. This patchwork family they'd built from trauma and courage and unexpected love. "We're really doing this. We really are." That afternoon, after pancakes were eaten and dishes were washed, Min-jae pulled Amara aside. "Come with me. I have something to show you." He led her to his office, transformed now from a place of dark business to a legitimate workspace. But instead of sitting at the desk, he went to a drawer and pulled out a small velvet box. "I've been carrying this around for 3 months, he admitted, waiting for the right moment to ask. "But I realized something this morning. Every moment with you is the right moment." He opened the box to reveal a ring, elegant but not ostentatious, a single diamond set in platinum with smaller stones flanking it. "Beautiful. Amara Bennett, you saved my daughter's life, and in doing so you saved mine. You made me want to be better. Made me believe I could be better. You love my daughter like she's your own, and you let me love Malik like he's mine." He took her hand. "Will you marry me? Will you be my wife, my partner, my equal in all things?" "Yes." Amara didn't hesitate. "Yes to all of it." Min-jae slipped the ring on her finger, then kissed her, deep and thorough and full of promise. When they pulled apart, he rested his forehead against hers. "I love you so much. I love you too. Even though you're complicated and dramatic and you still have security guards following us everywhere. Reformed crime bosses need security. It's in the handbook." "There's a handbook?" "I'm writing one. Chapter 1. Marry the hero who saved your daughter." Mar laughed. "What's Chapter 2? Live happily ever after." 1 year later. The wedding had been small but perfect, just family and close friends held in the backyard of their Brookline house. Malik had walked Amara down the aisle with pride. Sua had been the flower girl, taking her duties very seriously. And when the officiant had pronounced them husband and wife, both children had cheered louder than anyone. Now, a year later, Amara stood in the kitchen of the community health clinic she'd opened with Min-jae's support, the first of what would become several clinics serving underserved neighborhoods in Boston. This one was in Roxbury, her old neighborhood, a place that needed resources and hope. "Dr. Bennett?" One of the nurses poked her head in. Amara had completed her NP program and earned her doctorate. "Dr. Amara Bennett Kong now. Your 3 o'clock is here." "Thanks, I'll be right there." This was her dream realized. Running a clinic where people could get quality care regardless of ability to pay. Using her education to make a real difference. Building something that would outlast her. Min-jae had supported every step. Had helped secure funding, navigate regulations, hire staff. Had believed in her vision even when she doubted herself. Her phone buzzed. Text from her husband. "How's your day?" "Busy but good. Closed a deal on the community center in Dorchester. Should be operational by spring." "That's amazing." "Not as amazing as you. Dinner at home tonight? Mrs. Song is making your favorite." "Perfect. Love you. Love you more." Amara smiled, pocketing her phone. This life, this beautiful, complicated, hard-won life, was more than she'd ever imagined possible 2 years ago when she'd seen a terrified little girl in a park. She'd saved Sua that day. But in so many ways, Sua had saved her too. Had brought Min-jae into her life. Had given Malik a sister and a father figure. Had transformed everything. Dr. Bennett? The nurse was back. Your patient is getting impatient. Coming. As Amara walked toward the exam room, she caught sight of her reflection in the hallway mirror. Professional white coat, wedding ring glinting, smile that reached her eyes. She looked happy. She was happy. Sometimes the most dangerous thing you could do was take a risk on love. On trust. On believing that complicated people could change and that dangerous situations could transform into beautiful outcomes. But sometimes that risk was worth everything. 2 years after that. Appa. Mom. Hurry up. We're going to be late. Malik's voice, deeper now at 12 on the edge of teenage years, carried from downstairs. Amara finished zipping up her dress, a simple blue sundress appropriate for a school concert, and turned to find Minjae struggling with his tie. Here. She crossed to him, fixing it with practiced ease. You're nervous. I'm not nervous. You're definitely nervous. It's Sua's first solo. It's okay to be nervous. She's 8 years old. Why is she doing solos? But his voice was filled with pride, not concern. Because she's talented and brave and gets both of those things from you. She gets the brave from you. Minjae pulled Amara close. Have I told you today that I love you? Only 3 times. Unacceptable. I love you. 4 times. I love you too. Now come on before Malik leaves without us. The elementary school auditorium was packed with parents and families. Amara and Minjae found seats near the front, Malik settling between them. Junho was there too, retired from security work now but still part of their family. Mrs. Song had claimed seats in the row behind them. Grandma Rose and Minjae's mother sat together, chatting in a mix of English and Korean that neither fully understood but that somehow worked. This was their family. Chosen and biological, complicated and perfect. When Sua walked onto the stage in her concert dress, Amara felt Minjae's hand tighten around hers. Their daughter, because Sua was theirs now legally and in every way that mattered, looked so small up there. But when she started singing, her voice was clear and strong and beautiful. Minjae's eyes were suspiciously bright. Amara squeezed his hand and he squeezed back. After the concert, Sua ran to them, throwing herself into Amara's arms first, then Minjae's. Did you hear me? Did I do good? You were perfect, Amara said. Beyond perfect, Minjae agreed. We're so proud of you, princess. I wasn't even nervous because I knew you were watching. Knowing you're there makes me brave. Amara's throat tightened. This little girl who'd been so scared in that park 4 years ago was now confident enough to solo in front of hundreds of people. That was healing. That was love. That was family. As they walked to the car, all 4 of them together, Malik and Sua arguing about where to go for celebration dinner, Amara thought about how far they'd come. From that terrifying afternoon in Boston Common to this perfect evening. She'd run toward danger to save a child. And in return she'd been given everything she'd ever wanted but never dared to dream of. A partner who loved her completely, children who called her mom, a career that fulfilled her, and a life full of love and purpose. What are you thinking about? Minjae asked quietly as they loaded the kids into the car. Just that I'm grateful. For all of this. For you. For us. Me too. He kissed her softly. Every single day I'm grateful that you were in that park. That you were brave enough to help. That you gave us a chance. Best decision I ever made. Second best, he corrected. First best was saying yes when I asked you to marry me. Fair point. They drove toward home, their real home filled with noise and love and the beautiful chaos of family. And as Boston's lights spread out before them, Amara knew with absolute certainty that this was exactly where she was meant to be. She'd protected a child she didn't know. And that single act of courage had brought her home. The end. This story of Amara and Minjae shows that sometimes the most dangerous risks lead to the most beautiful rewards. From a terrifying moment in a park to a lifetime of love. This is their journey from strangers to family, from fear to safety, from survival to thriving. Thank you for following their story.